It's chaos.
It's a different type of Sunday scary.
It's your newest obsession.
It's Dirty Driving, a Formula One podcast.
We're the Hornsby sisters. I'm Katie.
And I'm Megan.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey everyone, how we doing?
We know you can't respond, but we just want to always check in with you and make sure that, you're doing well. And today we're interrupting your regularly scheduled Dirty Driving Tuesday episodes because the 2023 calendar was launched and you might be going through some midweek sadness. So we decided, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule came out Tuesday, September 20th. In the morning, I woke up and I was like, what madness could happen today? Immediately opens Twitter, don't see anything. And then I'm like, oh. There were a lot of reactions really quickly. So immediately Katie and I were like, okay, we got to just put these out here. Before we talk about them, we just are going to record it and have you guys hear all the things that we think about the 2023 calendar. I have a lot of thoughts, almost as many thoughts as there are races next year. Yes, that was a dig at how many the amount of races we're going to have this year.
Yes, it's overwhelming and also underwhelming at the same time. I don't know how you can feel both of those things at the same time, but that's how I felt this morning. I was overwhelmed by all of the races to look at, but I was underwhelmed by the order and just the general ish of the schedule.
Clearly they didn't ask for the fans' opinions. I feel like there is something called driver of the day. We should be able to poll the fans to see what they want to see or where they want to race. I know that doesn't always work because there's contracts. I get it. But seriously, give us some influence, maybe, possibly, potentially, as you're getting more fans, as you're trying to expand the brand. One avenue, Stefano Domenicali, are you listening? I feel like you could really expand into getting the fan opinion on certain tracks and where you should race. No one's going to listen to this and care that I think that, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think in general, there needs to be like a question asked to the drivers, the teams, the staff, and then potentially the fans to figure out what is the best thing. One of the members that we follow of one of the teams said something like, F1 making my life even crazier year after year. And I was like, yeah, I couldn't even imagine having to be the one to travel. It's something like over 300,000 kilometers of travel without returning home is what someone calculated. So it's yet again going to be another insane calendar year.
It really is. And I felt, okay, well, I've had a lot of thoughts as I've processed this throughout the day. The first one is I genuinely feel like the marketing people need to be consulted because they totally missed 22 races in 22. They only got that great marketing because Sochi was ditched. Then they missed 23 and 23. Like, okay, if you want to add more races, we should slowly ramp up to 30 and 30. Like, come on. I am handing you your marketing plan on it. Not even me, the world. The existence of these number of races are being handed to you on a silver platter, and you're like, easy marketing? Nah, we don't need it. Just genuinely feel like 22 and 22 has a good ring to it. 23 and 23 has a good ring to it. I don't like how many races that is, but nonetheless, I didn't even like how there were 23 races this year.
I feel like we're getting to the point where we've crossed the line of how many races, and I worry that that number, like Megan said, 30 and 30, like, could we ever get there? I wouldn't be surprised. Hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, there's that issue. There's also the issue of at some point, you're going to keep adding races at the end, and you're not actually looking at the quality of these races. You're just adding for quantity. I think that is the biggest criticism that I have of the schedule. And I think that's the biggest criticism that a lot of people have of the schedule is like you're shoving races in, but instead of actually looking at which races need to be there or should be there because they provide quality races, you're just like adding, let's add.
Yeah, I would say since you said that was your biggest complaint about the schedule, I think my biggest complaint is the order. Year after year, I feel like we've talked about this where it should be in the order that makes the most sense to be the most carbon neutral, to be the most efficient. I have no idea why we're zigzagging across the world yet again.
Especially because, well, there's a couple of, I get that there's like a couple of issues. Really, the big one for me is why the fuck do we have a doubleheader Baku to Miami? What? That is a massive question mark. But I understand that Canada can't be anywhere but June. That's where Montreal wants the race to be. I don't know if that means that there's no wiggle room to push Miami back. I guess maybe it would get too hot in Miami, but there has to be like maybe Canada's the first week of June and Miami's the last week of May. I don't know really if the temperature at Miami at that point, you could be running a risk of it being too hot. Honestly, I'd be cool if we just threw out Miami altogether. Just toss it out and let's put in Turkey. Let's put in Portugal. Let's put in Malaysia.
It's cheaper for me to travel to one of those countries, maybe not Malaysia, but than it is for me to go to Miami.
Portugal's definitely going to be cheaper than Miami.
Yeah, for sure. And so I have been reading a bunch of comments. You know, everyone has put up a post with the schedule saying, what are your thoughts? And the comments are endless about what people are thinking about this schedule. And I think the biggest thing is for us American fans, you're putting these races in cities that are expensive to travel to at the beginning, Miami and Las Vegas. And then you're adding a luxury event on top of it. You're not doing a great job opening the fences for all of us regular old Americans to be able to go to these races.
I mean, that's not like, okay, yes, that's true. I agree with all of that. But my bigger issue is like, we already looked like fucking wankers, to quote Gunther Steiner, in Miami. Like, what are we going to look like in Vegas? Like, I'm sorry. We looked like, as an American, I watched that and I was cringing at the fact that, look, this is a world event and people are watching us. And this is what you chose to do. By the way, it's not even in Miami. It's around a football stadium north of the city in a neighborhood that didn't even want it. So it's not Miami. It's outside. It should be renamed the Outside Miami, fake Miami Grand Prix. Like, I just wish they would get rid of it. We looked like idiots. I knew it wasn't going anywhere. I knew it was going to be back on the calendar. And I'll be honest, I'm not going. It's dumb. I can't afford to go. Full stop. We could probably go to 2 races in Europe for the same amount of money it would cost us to go to the Miami Grand Prix.
Totally.
Nonetheless, let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of this schedule we have planned for next year. Katie and I wanted to kind of walk through it and give all of our kind of thoughts on A, the order, B, the double headers, the triple headers. Do we like that they've added this? Why is this there? Why is it not? What's changed? So a little bit of everything, but we're going to go in order of the schedule. So like we said, the 2023 schedule is going to feature 24 races, groundbreaking, record-breaking. Not in a good way, I don't think. Ugh. It is going to start 2 weeks earlier. So Bahrain is actually going to be my birthday weekend. Woo-woo. It's March 5th. My birthday is March 3rd. So looks like we're going to have like a massive birthday watch party type situation. But yes, it's starting 2 weeks earlier than it did this year. We're going to have testing in Bahrain before then. It is going to end 1 week later than it's ending this year. So, and the last 2 races are going to be a double header of Las Vegas on a Saturday and Abu Dhabi the following week. So Nevada to the Middle East. Almost as ridiculous as Baku
To Miami.
to Miami. I can't even say that without laughing. Overall, the season is going to feature 8 races in Asia, 9 in Europe, 5 in North America, 1 in South America, 1 in Australia, 2 triple headers, 6 double headers, and only 6 standalone races. The season is actually going to start with 4 standalones. Basically like a race, a weekend off, a race, a weekend off, a race, a weekend off. It's going to be a weird start considering the start is going to be really slow and drug out, and then it's going to be like race, 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 race. Races that are off the calendar, which we knew were probably going to happen. France, gone. Russia, we already knew that was going to be out. We're not going there. And I already mentioned that Istanbul, Malaysia, and Portimao are all off the list. So it's kind of, it's definitely not what we thought was going to happen a couple of weeks ago. The schedule definitely looks a little bit different than I intended or thought it was going to look. Overall, just initially.
Yeah, I think the beginning of the season having a week, then a week off is going to be very interesting. I think for both the drivers and for us fans / content creators that revolve around F1, I think that's almost a harder start than doing 2 in a row, then a break, then 2 in a row.
And there was, well, I think it's also going to be weird because, so the first 3 races of next year are going to be the same order that they were this year. So it's going to go Bahrain, it's going to go Jeddah, it's going to go Australia. I definitely feel like they could have done back-to-back Bahrain, Jeddah, and then a week off, and then Australia, and then a week off, and then China. I liked the real quick into the season, especially because you've been waiting for it for so long. So I wouldn't mind having the beginning of the season a little bit more cramped and then having some breaks further throughout because there isn't a break between races longer than 1 week other than the summer break. So right now we're stuck in a 2-week break. We're not going to get a 2-week break. It's just not going to happen as long as other than the summer break. So to me, it's just weird. Like maybe spread out the summer or the early fall. I don't know where do you spread it out.
Yeah, but it definitely makes the least amount of sense to spread it out in the beginning.
Exactly.
Everyone's well rested. Everyone's ready to be back. Everyone is like hungry for it. Give us breaks later in the season when honestly everybody needs them.
I also am just really annoyed that we're going back to Jeddah. I knew it was happening. I don't love that track. I don't like it. I don't really enjoy I enjoyed this year's race more than last year's race. I just don't really like the track, and I don't really like the fact that we go there to race. I think it's quite controversial. I've already expressed my disdain for it, especially considering last year or this year, 2022, we had a missile strike that almost had the weekend canceled. So it doesn't exactly seem like a place where maybe we should race.
Yeah, it doesn't scream safety. It doesn't scream let's bring a popular sport with lots of marketing and lots of people and lots of just focus and awareness on that country. It's like if we're going to scratch Russia, then maybe we should hold everyone else accountable.
It's a slippery slope. You probably need to remove the American races off that list.
Yeah.
Definitely Texas. Okay, moving on. Number 4 next season is going to be China, the return of the Chinese Grand Prix. It is yet to be officially confirmed due to COVID-19. The last time we raced there was 2018. It was pre-COVID. And Katie, this weekend was originally earmarked to be the South African Grand Prix.
Yeah, I am extremely disappointed that we're not getting a South African race back. I think that would be so cool to have a race in every continent except for Antarctica. I think it would really, and I mean, Megan's going like shaking her head and
Hey,
shoulders up.
30
And we could have a race in Antarctica.
30 and
one
30,
day.
it ends Christmas week in Antarctica.
I wouldn't be
Ice
upset.
race.
Ice race.
Our Antarctican Grand Prix on Christmas. If we're gonna shove more races in, like let's up the ante.
Let's get adventure. Yeah, let's get
go to
adventurous.
Antarctica. Forget lizards, forget groundhogs. Penguins are going to be the
penguins are going to be running on the track. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I mean, one day I would love to see that. I think that would be incredible, but I was really bummed that South Africa did not make a comeback. I would replace that with a fair number of other races, including China. You know, I'm excited to go back and see it and experience it really like live as a fan watching it. But I don't know. Sad that South Africa is gone.
Good thing is that South Africa is intended to be on the calendar in 2024. So we're going to talk about this when we get to the Belgian Grand Prix, but just a little bit there. The plan is to have the South African Grand Prix on in 2024. They just need some additional time to get ready to do that. In return, I guess, like, hey, no South Africa this year, we get to keep Belgium. But that's moved spots. So hold that thought. Let's go back up. So we have round 4 is China. Round 5 is Baku into the brutal doubleheader that is Baku to Miami, with Miami following the week after on May 7th.
Yeah, and I think we kind of talked a little bit about Miami, how it's overrated. We don't need it. We're not going to be going. It's expensive. I think there's questions of, are they going to build a real harbor this time?
Yo, you got a year.
Build the harbor. I think there are other questions about, you know, whether this remains the celebrity race or if that makes a switch over to Las Vegas, or is it 2 quote unquote celebrity races that we now have in the US? I'll be very intrigued to compare Miami and Las Vegas once the 2 of them happen next year, and also compare Las Vegas year 1 to Miami year 1.
All I'm going to ask is that we take the cringe factor down by 1,000.
And
if we're going to have a harbor, let's fill it with water. If we're going to have a beach, build a beach. And like, let's not do America dirty. And by the way, let's get rid of that really slow chicane at the end that caused everyone so many problems. Just I'm going to add that on the end. Like, build the beach and then fix the track. No football helmets.
No football helmets. And by God, take down the Dan Marino statue.
Also, get somebody who knows that Charles should not be shortened to Chuck.
Like, everything embarrassing, just get rid of it.
Keep the Martin Brundle grid walk. I would love to see who he is going to confuse for Patrick Mahomes this year. After Miami, we go into the first of the 2. Wow, that was really hard to in my brain do. The first of the 2 triple headers that goes Imola, Monaco, and Spain. So Imola was a track that we had lost, but we had gained back in the pandemic. It's a place where sprint races go. So could we see another sprint at Imola again? Where are we going to see the sprints? We don't know that so far. We don't know. Are we going to have the same number? If they're increasing the number of races, are they going to increase the number of sprint races? Also, what are they going to do with the budget? All of the thoughts I had when I got to this part of the schedule as I was reading it. It was like ping-ponging in my brain.
I think it's really unfair to continue to increase the schedule while continuing to decrease the budget. We're already seeing it this year. They're
literally talking about how teams are repairing parts that they used to just like throw out with duct tape. that cannot be safe. At some point, you cross a line into safe. I get reuse, recycle. I get it. If it's not destroyed, you can't use it. Okay. But at some point, we're going to cross like a safety threshold.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, someone's going to get duct tape stuck on their face as they're driving.
Oh my God, that'd be wild. That would be wild. And then we'd play the game of who threw the duct tape and whose duct tape which car did the duct tape come off of, and who's trying to ruin the race for someone else. Just the usual questions we get when something like that happens.
Yes. No. So the other part of this triple header and where my brain started losing it was the fact that, again, we have Monaco. Monaco is back. There were some questions. Did we really think it was ever going to go away, Katie, though?
No. I'm sorry, Megan. I know you don't love Monaco because it's not entertaining racing, but I think Monaco will be on the schedule for many, many years. It was just confirmed that it will be on the schedule till 2025 at least, but I continue to see that contract extending year after year. It's history. We can have one race on the calendar that is for show and is for history and is for remembering how far we've come in F1 and how far we've grown.
I vehemently disagree. I think if you're going to have 24 races on the calendar, then let's just make Monaco like a sprint, like just literally like a full straight like shootout. Like let's make it a shootout and then have all the glitz and glamour, have a 2-day weekend, have a shootout, race some historic cars. Look, you can give partial points for a shootout. Stefano Domenicali admitted that he's interested in potentially going to like points being awarded for practice sessions and qualifying. So if that is even something that they're thinking about, then there's no reason why Monaco can't be like a standalone special weekend where you get points for qualifying and then they all race historic cars. What's wrong with that? You still get all the things, but I don't have to be annoyed.
Or bored for 2.5 hours while they're racing in the same order around Monaco.
Behind Alonso's big rear end. Okay, so then we get to the next standalone race, which is Canada. And Katie and I, we're going again. I'm sorry, we got to go.
Oh, for sure. And this time, if you want to come with us, the invitation is open. It is so easy to get to.
So easy.
Like not flying, it is one thing, but like just getting to the track from wherever you are in the city is another thing. Everyone was kind. We didn't have any issues with, anyone being unkind to us. It's a great city to explore during the weekend when we're not on the track. We're going again. Sold. I would love to go
immediately
again.
Calls Roger. He needs to book a Marriott now. We should have him do that now. So yeah, Canada, can't wait to be there. After Canada, we have a slight break and then we get Austria. I get it. Red Bull, rah-rah. Should we go back there? It's going to be a dumpster fire again. Paired with the UK Silverstone. Another one that Katie and I are contemplate attending next year, but that is a nice doubleheader. Both European races make sense. Should Austria be on there, Katie? If the fans get a new attitude.
Yeah, I think it should. I would like to go to that race. I'd like to experience the hordes of Max Verstappen fans and be the standalone Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, I would. I would go with my thick skin on, and I would just take it.
But it wasn't just like people saying bad things. It was like people being like inappropriate.
Yes. Do I think those people should be allowed to attend F1 races? No. And I wish there was a way that we could figure out every single one who did do something inappropriate and ban them for life, because there isn't a place for any of that in Formula One. Would I like to be one of the well-behaved, respectful fans that does go and experience Austria in the Red Bull Ring? Absolutely. Maybe it's not next year, but maybe it's one day.
Yeah, it definitely has to be way in the future. I would not go back there anytime soon. Or I wouldn't go there anytime soon. Okay, so then after that doubleheader, we get to the doubleheader of Hungary and Belgium. Belgium, which is staying on the calendar, but it's moving to be ahead of the summer break. So Hungary is normally the last race, and then we have the summer break, but the Belgian Grand Prix is moving up to replace the French Grand Prix, which won't be there. So that's a weird change. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, it's just a little uncomfortable. It's definitely not something that we're used to, and I'll be intrigued to see if it rains being a little earlier. I'm sure that doesn't change much about the weather, the unpredictable weather that happens there, but we'll see what happens.
That is one we might need to just go to that one next year because that might not be on the calendar again if the South African Grand Prix goes ahead. Then we get the summer break, a nice 3-week break, which immediately returns quickly. It feels like when you look at that break, it's only a month. Only a month there. You get a doubleheader of Zandvoort in the Netherlands and then Monza. After all the stories this year, I am really on the fence about going next year. I think I eventually want to go, but I think I'm going to wait till if I'm going to have to deal with the ridiculous organization of the Italian Grand Prix, I'm going to wait till Ferrari can win the damn fucking race.
Yeah. I think like even when I went to Monza, it wasn't race weekend. It was just like a Wednesday and they were testing some random car. Couldn't tell you what it was. Wasn't a Formula One car. It like, even though just like the layout of the track and like the organization and the security guard that I talked to, it just seems like no one speaks to each other at that facility. And the gift shop is the size of my bedroom. So I have no idea how they even function selling things on a race weekend. I know they do pop-up merch tents, but
dumpster fire.
There are so many things that fall in the category of Monza being a dumpster fire. And there were people waiting in line for hours trying to leave the track. Like, sign us up for Canada. We'll get on the metro and get home just as we did last time.
I am not going to suffer that potential trauma if Ferrari isn't going to win. Look, if Ferrari wins and I just get to be there in the Tifosi, like, I don't care how long I have to wait to leave. I won't even be drinking water. So why do I need to be in the water line? But I'm not doing that miserableness for Ferrari not to win. No, not doing it. So I'm going to wait. This might be a wait of my entire life. We're fine. That's a little dig at Ferrari. Okay. After Monza, we get a break and then we have another doubleheader. This time we go to Asia for Singapore and Japan. I'm excited that they're going to be paired again together. I'm really excited about the next two races, to be honest.
Yeah, it should be great. And I think this is just a teaser for what's to come next year too, because I feel like there's something about having a similar schedule with similar back-to-back races year after year. The drivers get the feel of like, okay, we're going to Singapore, then we're going to Japan. We got it. We know what's up next. It's cool. And I just feel like it makes a lot of sense to pair races and always have them be buddies in the scheduling system.
It makes a lot of sense. It does, to be like two races near each other together, break. Two races near each other, break. Like, it almost would be like a very good, that's how they should do the entire schedule.
Exactly. Find your buddy race and the buddy races stick together. And I'm sorry, I don't care about the contract. If you can't do the weekend that Formula One wants you to do the weekend, then goodbye. Contract on pause for this year. Catch you guys next year.
If only it was that easy.
if only Megan and I were in charge of making the schedule.
I don't know why we're not. So then after the Asian doubleheader, we head to the Middle East, to Qatar, for a random one-off standalone race. Qatar is making its return after its 2021 debut, but then had to pause because it's hosting the World Cup in 2022, and then will begin its 10-year contract next year. Okay, whatever. That's my feelings. I don't understand why Qatar and Abu Dhabi couldn't be paired together because they're in the Middle East, but it goes back to what Katie and I have said again and again about contracts. that immediately follows, well, we have a break and then immediately goes into a Tour de North America with a triple header of COTA, Mexico, and then Brazil, a break, and then Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is going to be a Saturday night race. It's the 4th ever Saturday night race. The last night race we saw, or the last Saturday race we saw, was in 1985. It was the South African Grand Prix, which was 38 years ago. So I'm going to need to see the weekend schedule immediately. I'm very interested in how this is all going to work, but I'm interested.
Yeah, it's definitely a point of intrigue. It's probably the most intriguing thing on the calendar. I think it maybe would have made a little bit more sense to go like Brazil, Mexico, Las Vegas, COTA, or Brazil, Mexico, COTA, Las Vegas. Like thinking about the schematic of that, you could figure out what mileage would be the shortest amount. I think they could have shifted it a little bit, but I'm excited that we're at least in the Americas for 4 races in a row. And hopefully the drivers won't suffer the exhaustion. The drivers and the teams and the staff and everyone who travels, not just the drivers, won't suffer the exhaustion of switching time zones or multiple time zones. So should be good. Saturday night, we'll see if we make it to Vegas for that.
That's a maybe.
That's a maybe. It's a big maybe right now.
I don't know how I feel. I think I'm very frustrated with the fact that people are buying up these like massive amounts of tickets for these luxury packages. Like, that's not the fans I want to hang out with. I want to hang out with the fans that are watching every weekend and are excited to be at a race, are not like, oh, this is the social event of the year. I don't need another Monaco. I don't need another Miami. I liked Monaco. Like, let Monaco be the celebrity event, the glitterazzi, and then let all the other races just be about the sport. And I get that that sounds exclusionary, but I'm not excluding people. I'm just saying, like, there needs to be a path so that everyday humans can attend these races.
And I think that's the point that I was trying to make earlier that maybe wasn't very clear, but you're choosing to pick cities that are expensive. Like, you could return to Indy and have a Formula One race in Indy. Think about what that would do for the sport. You've already got a majority of motorsport fans based in Indy, based in the Midwest. Think about that versus let's do this one-off in Las Vegas with, you're right, Megan, maybe the people who aren't watching every weekend, who just want to make the, social excursion because they can afford to make that social excursion.
It does feel really douchey to give Danny Rick a Las Vegas race and then have Zach Brown take away his drive. So I think I'm a little better. And then finally, the season ends right after Vegas. It goes immediately into Abu Dhabi for the last race of the year, where we have always ended. So not always, but lately have been ending in Abu Dhabi. It's interesting. I'm intrigued by it. I have a feeling we'll probably lose a race because it feels like we always lose a race or something gets changed in the process. Mostly, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with sprint races. I'm also interested to see if they're going to change the point system at all, just because if there's so many more races, there's just going to be so many more points earned or potential points out there to earn. So if you're going to increase the sprint races, if you're going to increase the regular races, do you maybe change the point system so it's not so inflated? I don't know. I'm intrigued. I don't know if a lot will change, but it feels like change is coming in general.
I think as fans, we just need to prepare ourselves to experience and embrace this change and appreciate why we all still sit down every Sunday to watch Formula One, for the entertainment, for the layers of the sport, for so many different reasons. And this schedule is going to be exciting. It's going to be long. It's going to be taxing. I cannot wait to see what they do with sprint races as well, because let's see more. Like, if we're going to do them, let's do them.
Well, let's change them. Like, if we don't like the way they're structured, let's make tweaks. Like, they have the ability to do that. Like, if you want a record-breaking number of races, then change it to keep it interesting the whole season, because people are starting to check out this season.
Yeah, with Max coming up as being champion, unless something huge happens, I will see more and more people check out of this season, and I would hate to see that. Hate to see a repeat of that for 2023.
We'll have to see what happens. Okay, it is still not race week, so please carry on with your regular scheduled non-race week plans if you have any of those, because we surely don't. And until then, stay dirty. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us at Dirty Driving Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Until next time, stay dirty.